Let's talk about Europe. Let's talk about Europe. Forest have a 5-point cushion to Chelsea in fourth. It's now looking more likely than not that they'll be in the Champions League next season. If they get in it, which we're just saying is more likely than not, is Nuno the manager of the year? If Slot didn't get the Carabao Cup, didn't get the FA Cup, went out of the Champions League on a whimper. Is he still manager of the year for winning it in his first season, or do you look at a bigger achievement with what Nuno's done with that Forest side? Looking at relegation most of the time, and now they're potentially going to finish third. Do you look at Eddie Howe getting the first trophy for Newcastle in 70 odd years?
No, if Forest get Champions League, it's Nuno.
Is it that 100%? If
you think about it, most people would have had Liverpool in the top 3 at the start of the season, so they probably gained 2 places from what people thought. And obviously, it's a brilliant achievement to win the Premier League in your first season. You can't take that away from him. I think most people probably had Forest in a relegation battle. They're third. They've been brilliant all season. They've been mean in defence. Their attacking players have all performed to a consistently high level all season. It's going to take something that hasn't happened all season for them to fall away. They're going to go on a kind of run that they haven't gone on all season. So I think they're going to get it. If they get in the Champions League, it's a much bigger achievement than when Newcastle did it a few years ago and when Villa did it last year.
Well, because they had budgets. They had
Forest have been in the Championship for like 20 years. And they were
looking at relegation the last couple. But then when Eddie Howe took over, But what I would say is just on, I agree. But just to play devil's advocate on the Liverpool side of things, I'm pretty sure everybody said, there's going to have to be a bedding in period after Klopp. There was no title talk. There was the same way how there was no talk of Forest being in the top 3. I don't remember anybody saying that Liverpool are going to win the league. And the reason why that was because Klopp's too big, too powerful, and there's going to be a big bedding in, period, and this guy's going to have to get to learn the Premier League, and he's won it the first time of asking.
You'll remember some people did say that them not buying any players would be a really good thing for them and lead to a stronger season. You'll remember that.
I also remember other people saying that City would go the season,
about Man City,
the rest of the season unbeaten, and
they
might not even get in the top 4. So yes,
I remember someone
6 to
saying
1, half a dozen error.
Be in the top 4, mate.
So we all get them wrong.
Yeah,
we all get them wrong.
Sometimes you get things right as well. I'm not trying to take anything away from Liverpool here. They've had a really, really bad week, and the fans will be disappointed with what's happened over the last week because they'll know they've got a huge opportunity in the Premier League. I think given the team that they have and how well they've done this season, being knocked out in the last 16 of the Champions League is a disappointment. I know they've got knocked out by a really, really good team, and it was on penalty, so it was close. But there'll be an element of disappointment there, and I think most Liverpool fans would have expected to go to Wembley, which has been like a second home in Carabao Cup finals, and win.
They call it Anfield South.
Yeah, and they've had a bad week, but still a monumental achievement.
Yeah, you can't eclipse
in your first season 100%. As a Premier League manager.
That's one game.
That is, that's something that's not really even getting spoken about, is it?
Exactly.
So it's an incredible achievement, but I still don't think it's as big as the achievement of Nottingham Forest getting in the Champions League.
Yeah, like it's a bigger achievement. It's a harder job because at least with Liverpool, you've got some Premier League winners in there. You've got like world-class players in there. You've got Van Dijk. You've got Salah. You've got Trent. You've got Robertson. You've got Alisson. So just them players alone, you're like, there's a basis there. And I know he didn't invest into the squad, so it's fantastic what he's done without massive investment. But you've got some top quality that if you can get it right, which obviously he has, you could do something like win the league. With Forest, like you're saying, I agree. That jump from where did they finish last year?
It was low. It was 16th maybe. I don't.
Yeah, I can't remember.
I don't know off the top of my head.
But from those type of positions to third, and not like, they've been legitly there. It's not like they've made a late push for it now and they've just got into it. They've been consistently in that area between third and fourth since I can remember.
Mate, they've won the same amount of games as Arsenal. The exact same amount of Arsenal. What I like about what Forest have done, look, obviously Chris Wood is what he's doing, what he has done has been absolutely incredible, albeit he's not scored for 5 games. I think it is now. I like that they've recruited loads of players, not at Nottingham Forest, and there's been a real differing success rate. Some have been hits, some have been misses. A lot aren't even there anymore that they would have bought in those first few transfer windows. But the recruitment of those attacking players behind Wood, Gibbs White, brilliant bit of business, is worth double what they paid for him, and they paid a lot for him at the time. Alanga, they've got the best out of him. Yeah. Callum Hudson-Odoi, I don't remember too many teams looking at him. He's gone there. He's been brilliant. real opportunistic signing in Elliot Anderson. They've signed a lot of players that have come through Premier League academies and that are hungry and that have all kind of gelled together and created this brilliant team spirit. And they're good footballers as well. So good in transition. The way they lulled Ipswich into a false sense of security at the weekend. I know it's Ipswich, but
and then just took it away from them.
They lulled them into a false sense of security for 15 minutes and then blew them away.
Chelsea in 4th place on 48 points. Bournemouth on 44 points. They sit in 10th, so that leaves 7 teams battling for 2 places in the Champions League. I mean, we did say earlier it has been a bit of a drab season, but when you look at this part of the league, though, it's fascinating to see how condensed the Premier League is. For me, on Chelsea, just quickly, I mean, look, they're currently in 4th, but I think they're sitting ducks. The way they're playing right now is so bad. I want to watch them against Arsenal. The fact they've got no striker as well. They've got to play some of the big boys as well. I mean, they've got Spurs coming up next at home. Now, I know Spurs ain't great. They're not, but they give them a game. This version of Chelsea, again, Robert Sanchez as well in goal, just not doing much. Then they've got to play Brentford away. Ipswich, okay, fine. But then they've got to go away to Fulham. Then they've got to play Everton. Then they've got to play Liverpool. Then they've got to play Newcastle. Then Man United. Like, I'm looking at Chelsea's run and I'm like, nah, not for me. I think they're going to drop out of the top 4. Whether or not they can get 5th, that can still get them Champions League, we'll wait and see. But I don't think they're going to get 4th. But people like Bournemouth and City and
Bournemouth
the rest of the teams,
bit of a sticky patch, haven't they? Yeah. Bournemouth losing at the weekend to Brentford as well. I think Newcastle are obviously going to be galvanised now. Their fans.
Do you think they'll be galvanised, or do you think there can be that sort of hangover?
I don't think Eddie Howe will allow that.
Yeah.
I think they'll be galvanised. The fan base now, every game at St James's Park is going to be electric. They've got great away fans anyway. They've got a good team.
They're heroes now.
They'll take confidence from winning a trophy. If they keep everyone fit, they're going to get in the top 5 because there's just so much momentum now from winning a trophy. If they win a trophy,
Gordon will be back.
Yeah, if they win a trophy and finish in the top 5 and get Champions League again, that's one hell of a season from Newcastle.
Brighton.
You would think Man City are going to finish in the top 5, but I've watched them a few times now recently, and they're just not there. Haaland's not involved in games at all. They're just not the team that they used to be. Kevin De Bruyne is coming on and playing 5 minutes. Grealish is sitting on the bench for 90 minutes. They're just very, very disjointed.
It looks like there's, in a weird way, obviously they have to get Champions League, but it does feel like they're trying to just get to the end of the season and reset.
Yeah, and I almost feel like Pep's trying to prove a point with some of the stuff he's doing, like Kusanov playing. He's clearly not ready for Premier League.
Keeps rating him as well. Keep saying he's doing well.
He's not not ready. I'm hopeful that Villa will time the run. They're on a bit of a run at the moment. Wouldn't take much to usurp Chelsea. You wouldn't think. And Newcastle, if I look at it analytically from as a Villa fan, the team I'm worried about there in Newcastle. We've got to play Newcastle at Villa Park.
You've got to play Forest
as well. Yeah, we've got to
play
Forest. I don't really look at Villa
in between
and Forest.
the PSG's games though.
Yeah, Villa's still in the FA Cup as well, mind you. So are Newcastle. So are City.
You
Brighton as well.
You got to play City away. I know they're not great. I know that, but you still got to play them. That's right after Newcastle. Then you got to play Fulham. Then you got to play Bournemouth. Then you got to play Spurs, and then you got to come to Old Trafford, mate.
On the last day. That's 0 points because we can't play there to save our lives.
I tell you what, your run's not easy at all.
But I think if you were probably to look at every team's fixtures, you can make a case for the run's not been easy. We're playing a lot of the teams around us. Like Brighton's our next Premier League game away, I think. So that will be big. It depends how deep we go in the Champions League and the FA Cup as well.
Yeah, how you manage it.
But Villa have got the squad size. I'm convinced now everyone's fit again. Villa have got the depth and they can rotate more so than they could last season. If I had to call it now, I think I'd call Newcastle and just about City. If I had to, but I'm hoping that Villa.
So you think City will just find just the right amount of results at the right time?
It's unthinkable to think that they won't finish in the top 5.
Imagine City in the Europa League. That's how far we've come in football, where someone like City just to be in the Europa League.
I'm saying that Brighton are 1 point off Manchester City.
That's what I mean. Why are they not in with a shout?
Well, they are. They are, obviously.
And they're playing really well right now.
Draws have been Brighton's problem because they've only lost 6 games.
Yeah.
But they've drawn 11.
So they got you, then they got Palace away, then Leicester home, then Brentford away, then West Ham home.
I mean, if anyone's got the 3 teams at the bottom in their run of fixtures, they're pretty certain to be a good chance of top 5, aren't they? Because that's 9 points straight off the bat.
They got one of them. They got one. Oh, they got Wolves as well.
It's probably worth. I mean, we're not going to have to do it now. It's probably worth looking at who's got to play who. You can't really make an informed.
It's too hard. Yeah, it's too hard to do because that's what I mean. If it was only like 2 teams to choose from, you could just look at the runs and say who's got it. Yeah. But because it's literally 7 teams,
Top three is done though. I think we can.
So you don't think Forest could hit a blip?
I don't think anyone will take them over. It would, mate. They're gonna, for them to finish sixth. A lot's got to happen. They're going to get Champions League football.
That's insane. Well done, Forest.
Yeah, well
they've been so good.
Nuno's a good manager. Look at what he did at Wolves. Okay, he had like 5 minutes at Tottenham Hotspur sandwiched in between. But what he did at Wolves and what he's done so far at Forest, he's a really good manager for that like kind of size of the club. Really, really good manager. Imagine them in the Champions League next season.
I mean, they say obviously about Villa Park rocking and stuff like that under the lights. It's a City ground. I mean, that would just be incredible.
I mean, we could have 6 or 7 teams in the Champions League next season.
I know, depending if everything goes well. Once we win the Europa League as well, we'll be another one in there.
It wouldn't surprise me, unfortunately, if you did win the. I think for there to be 7, though, I think we have to win it. I think we have to win the Champions League and not finish in the top 5.
Do you know what's so funny about that, right? I know how much that would annoy you. Because
if you win the Europa League,
yeah, it would.
It wouldn't be so much the trophy
because we just don't deserve it. Because it's like
it would be more you got in the Champions League that would annoy me.
It's nasty work. If we get in the Champions League and you don't, you want to block me.
Well, I'm no good be blocking you when I work with you every week, because I'll have to physically
then
see
you need to refuse.
Week.
You probably need to refuse.
That's for a day change.
Yeah,
I'll work with Clink on a Monday, please.
Because Dan, I'm just telling you now, I'm going to be unbearable. Because you...
Unbearable anyway.
Because you know what? No, because you know what I've noticed?
Do you know
what I've noticed about you, actually, as well? Every single little tweet I say a little bit of positivity about my team... Well done, Flex. I'll finally go. I see it. Oh, I don't always respond. I just collect them. So, Dan, don't you worry. There's going to be a time.
You did one the other week. You celebrated a draw. I was like, how
what
far?
Draw was that? Who did we draw against? Arsenal.
I was like,
Arsenal.
But I was like, how far have Manchester United fallen?
But that's the
Flex
oldest.
Is celebrating draws.
That is the oldest line in the book. Like this season about Man United. How far is the bar? Yeah, we know that. But I'm just telling you, Dan. If we get a trophy this year and you don't, which is likely, you haven't won a trophy in a long time.
You're in the easier competition, so you've
doesn't matter. Mate, you was in it last year. You didn't win it.
I'm in the Conference League.
You said in the Conference League. Couldn't even win that.
Olympiacos.
See, that's what I mean. These Villa fans.
Olympiacos
just remember.
Can beat anyone, Flex.
I mean, Olympiacos. Look, that's what I mean. Just remember. Yeah. Even Newcastle have had a better season than you.
Yes, because they've won a trophy.
There you go. So just all the Villa stuff. Just bring it down a bit. That's what I'm saying.
Brentford have had a better season than you, and they're 11th.
Well, not if we win a trophy, which we will.
I hope you don't win it.
And that's what I mean. I know because of me, you just really don't, and you want to laugh at me. And guess what?
I'm even laughing at you all season.
Yeah, and guess what? When I have the last laugh, you're not going to like it. You're listening to The Social here on talkSPORT 2.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.